Yeah, so thank you very much for the very warm welcome. I'm very honored and happy to be here and to lead you through the next, and actually, yeah, as you said, last final panel on the topic how to scale transformation successfully. So we're going to look at it from different angles. What does it take to really transform not only people and teams, but also entire organizations? What works and what doesn't work when you try that? What are the levers, the methods, the maybe tricks and tips we can all take home from today? And we will do that by looking at two very practical, two very specific transformation stories to start with, to make it really tangible. And then we will see how can we, lift it up to a more, let's say, general level, so we can all see what can we learn for our very own transformation stories in our very own organizations, or what can you take away maybe for your next endeavor or next challenge, which is probably waiting tomorrow morning at 8:30, right? Or maybe 7:30, or maybe 10 if you're very lucky. And for all of that, I'm very, very happy to welcome three phenomenal panelists, and I would like to maybe try to at least give them the same applause or the same noise level as I got it. And the first one is Flore Krug. She's Head of Organization Development at Mobile.de. Yoo-hoo! And also on stage with me will be Lisa Marie Urban, VP People and Organization at Home24 or Home24, probably, actually, yeah. Come on board. And the last big round of applause for Silvia Scherer. She's a transformation coach and industry advisory board member at CoachHub. Welcome. So you can, let's do it this way. I didn't have a plan, so now this is the plan. So welcome on the panel. Thank you very much for being here with me and not leaving me alone with this very complicated topic, which you will now have to solve. So good luck with that. So as I said, I would like to make it tangible and practical and maybe very specific in the beginning to then to zoom in on that, and then maybe we can zoom out and see what is typical, what are the things we can learn from that, or what are maybe things that we shouldn't learn from that, which is probably even more interesting. So we're going to grill you a little bit on that. Both of you are working for very exciting companies, and you're also both in the middle of a interesting transformation process. And maybe to kickstart with you, Flore, if you allow me, maybe could you tell us a little bit about the current transformation at Mobile.de? What is maybe the challenge right now? What are you transforming towards? What is the goal of that? And maybe also how have you been approaching it so far? So what are you in the middle of, and how does it go?
Thank you, Lars. So Mobile.de, we have a digital DNA. Mm-hmm. So if somebody talks about digital transformation, we're like, oh, we are already digital. So we started as a startup 26 years ago. We scaled with eBay, and now we got sold to Adevinta, a new company, a new mother. And meanwhile, we not just got sold, but our CEO left after a decade. Really sad, yeah. So we had the pandemic. We are moving to a new office. We are having a new CEO. As we just heard from Toyota, the whole automotive industry is changing. Mobility is changing. The way the customers buy cars or want to own cars is changing. So we have, I would say, it's not a Stack Overflow, it's a change overflow. Mm-hmm. And what do you do if you have a change overflow? You try to observe your system. So our new CEO, who is just brilliant, Ajay from India, who worked in Australia and then got transferred to our company in August, and who's a really system thinker, he wanted us to understand the hidden rules of the game. So, I'm a groupie of Metaplan, just saying. So
that is allowed.
It's allowed, yeah. So we were sitting there, and it's super important. We started a year ago to have space, or give us a space for reflection as a leadership team, an organizational development team. Also having some multipliers in the company. We call it Rainbow Road, yeah. So it's like a project, and it's just having the space to reflect on us, who are we right now? Why are we who we are? How did we become Mobile.de? And what did we allow? And what is hindering us to change right now? And so Ajay had this brilliant idea to ask us, could you please write down the hidden rules of the game? So he wanted like this manual, yeah, like for a washing machine. So for example, you have to ask everybody before you make a decision. So, like Toyota, the consens culture. If you don't attend a meeting, you're not important. So it was like really harsh, these hidden rules. And these rules, you have to see it like, they were important when scaling, but now the moment where we have to be innovative again, where we have new markets, new products, we need to be different. Yeah. And at that point, it's like how to move our, like, now we have like, we need a new system, but we have the same people. Yeah. And we don't believe that we fire people, but we believe that we educate people. And in our core it is, like our people, because we are mobility, used car, the biggest marketplace in Germany for selling used cars, we believe our people have to be in the driver's seat. Get out of the autopilot. And how can you be in the driver's seat? Only if you own your own budget. So our people, all of them, 600, they have their individual development budget. Yeah. So they decide on their ROE. So I was hearing a lot of ROE today, Roy. And I think that's like the best way to bring people into accountability. And what we observed during the pandemic, I joined like a month before the pandemic, people stopped using their development budget. Like, huh? You have this money, you're not using it? You know what, I don't want to go to an online conference and pay 1,500, it's not worth it. I don't want to go to a 2 days training on conflict management and like pay 2,000 euros, it's not worth it. So people didn't develop themselves anymore. Okay. Whoa. So we got scared. Like, what can we offer so that people develop themselves? And we started an experiment, 2020. Philip, lovely Philip. And so we are really early adopters. So it was like a banana product. It got yellow with us. So I remember then we were onboarding CoachHub that Philip was saying, no, we don't need SSO. The app is safe. I'm like, we are a corporate. If you don't offer us SSO, we're not going to work together. And so the CTO himself implemented SSO, yeah, single sign-on. So super funny. We had 3 persons doing a prototype. We were like skeptical. Would that be like a use case people would spend money on? And they loved it. So, Then we scaled. Then we had testimonials. So they were talking, like the ripple effect, they were talking about CoachHub, what it did to them. And it's really important in our company, nobody's embarrassed to be coached. It's not a sign of, oh, you're going to be resigned soon, or a sign of weakness. It's a sign of growth. If you take that time for yourself and your development, you live up to our values. Okay. Yeah? It's not a weakness. And I think this is, sometimes at companies, coaching is associated with he or she is like a failure. Yeah.
And what did your, maybe as in a few more sentences, what was the experiment like, and what were the steps you took before we maybe move on to the next transformation?
So the experiment was like, we as a company, we developed a tool, it's called Skill Cards. You can look it up at Myroverse, it's a template we share at the collaboration tool. And so when we have development dialogues with our employees, it could be like there's a field of, let's say, conflict management is a topic you should, like, as a future leader, work on, or giving feedback. And this is like the tool identifying skills, also matching to what we need as a whole company. Like now, like decision making is a huge topic. We briefed all the coaches now, like more like set a lot of topics on decision making. And then people would go in and work on that topic. But we identified, it's just taking the time, it's already worth it. And so the experiment was like the people really identified that they were better arguing with the stakeholders, and also in regards to their, let's say, triggers. Like a lot of the 3 people who were joining were saying like, oh my God, all of a sudden I identify it's me, and it's my triggers, and it's my buttons somebody pushes, and I'm accountable for my buttons. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's, and so we identified this, and we rolled it out to 20 people in product and tech. The testimonials, like they shared their experience. The people were like, oh, maybe I spent my money this year not for a conference, but for CoachHub. And now, especially with the merger, like the new mother, at the winter, people feel overwhelmed with like the changes. For example, leading international teams, going like having employees from France, from Amsterdam, and so people really look for help. And if you say, we need new habits, new behaviors matching our system, because we want like to be more courageous or hungry people, So as a market leader, hungry people could be like a challenge.
Okay.
So we like really work on their behaviors, and working on behaviors, we already had it in the morning, like habits, it takes an average 66 days to change a behavior. And so our program is that people have 6 months working on their topics. And they don't even have to tell what topic. They don't have to be nominated. They can decide on their own. They're accountable if they want to do this program. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for this intro and deep dive into your challenge. Sounds very interesting. So you took an approach that, of course, is super interesting. You transformed, or you let's say identified the individual development plan or the individual developments as the main lever for transformation. Yeah. I mean, first you were trying to understand the systems behind it. That's what your CEO tried to do by asking for all the informal rules, which I don't know how many of those you kind of could map and what you did with that. Maybe we can come back to that later. But you were really looking at what do the individuals need? What does every single person in your organization need to be able to go along the way and really transform as well as the organization transforms. So, thank you very much, Lisa. When you listen to that, you were also in a company that is, I mean, which change did you not do, right? I mean, you're in a complete full circle, new CEO, moving, different business model, and so on. Lisa, for you, that must sound relatively familiar. I mean, you're also in a company that is very much changing. And maybe you can also give us a quick, or maybe a tiny bit quicker journey into your transformation challenge, and give us a hint on what your main angle was to tackle it.
It's on, right? Yeah. Good to see you all. I was thinking about what to share, and I definitely want to share one acquisition story from beginning of the year. So first of all, Home24, you might be familiar with. We are one of the leading European online destinations for home and living, but we decided already 2 years ago for an omni-channel strategy. So besides the online furniture we are selling and the accessoires, we are also having showrooms and outlets. And we had the past 2 years within the pandemic, for us, it's have been the most striving and best years ever in terms of revenue and also in scaling up the organization. And then in that phase, we decided to do one major acquisition. We bought 100% of Butlers, which is the accessories part of the home and living sector. And it was super interesting because I was directly at that point in time in the beginning of this year, I was joining Home24 and I was coming from Deutsche Telekom, a super large organization where we invested always a lot of money in transformation, working with coaches, with external partners, with consultancies. And then coming to Home24, a scale up, founded by Rocket Internet in the very beginning. I was there leading the people function, so to say, together with the learning and development team of 3 people. And we basically had the task to look into transformation and guiding the company and the organization through that process of acquisition. And what we did is, first of all, we were thinking, okay, in both organizations, there's no experience for facilitation. So there was never a huge invest in how do we organize how people really come together and getting in contact. So the first thing we did is we started with the management offsite, bringing both management teams together and spending really 2 days quality time together. And it was not used for them, but we implemented some games where people really personally get to know each other.
What was the most embarrassing game they had to play?
I think the most fun was
okay, fun.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, not
fun / embarrassing.
I'm just thinking. We started with like this lining up in the room, and we asked several personal questions, and we asked how many years you are with the company, and it was not embarrassing, but it was really good, fast thing that everybody gets to know each other.
Because sometimes these games can be tough, right? I mean,
yeah, I was thinking. No,
you're very
not.
nice. So
no,
you chose some nice games. That's good.
Oh, fine. And then after that, we also gave both organizations the time, more than 1.5 hours for each, also CEO plus the management team, to tell their story. And everyone was thinking, oh, it would be super long, and we want to look ahead what we are doing together. But it was a super important thing, cultural-wise, to understand and to listen to both founder stories. This was also one thing. And then after this management offsite, we went together with the learning and development team. We did more than 45 interviews with random people throughout both organizations. So we had some diversity criteria, so from all levels, different genders, from the stores, from the outlets, from the logistics area and the headquarters. And we were asking 45 minutes of questions. So how would you describe the leadership style? How would you describe the working together? What is important to you? And what we realized, we were sharing the insights of those interviews with the whole organization, like with each and everyone, plus the leadership teams. And we realized that we have completely different DNAs, but we also, like coming from Butlers as a family-owned business, matching with Home24, e-commerce, Rocket Internet Found. But we also identified some similarities. And this is, throughout the year, those similarities, this was the part we wanted to build on. And that's like around the similarities, we build up smaller teams, work streams, where people get the chance to experiment together and write the new story and history together. That's basically what we did in the first months, so to say.
Okay. And interesting, one thing I find very interesting is that you're almost following like a typical like qualitative social research method, right? You're doing interviews, maybe anonymously, I don't know if that was the case, and then you were trying to probably cluster the topics that came up, and then you form work streams around what these challenges are, which I think makes a lot of sense. But both of you kind of started with listening, right? I mean, you started with letting people write down the informal rules or the informal, let's say, ecosystem that is, let's say, driving the inner workings of the organization. You were asking people to tell you these things, probably. And I think that's a very interesting approach, that you didn't start with a new idea. You know, sometimes you have the new CEO or the new vision or mission or whatever statement, and then you kind of develop some sort of strategy top down, and then you kind of try to communicate that strategy. You both sort of did it, at least also the other way, did it the other way around.
Yes.
And Silvia, maybe to get you now also into the conversation, is that does that resonate with you? Is that generally a good idea? You've seen a lot of companies or organizations transform. BMW was one of them. You worked for them for a long time, and you also kind of created some momentum from not necessarily from top down, but from the inner organization, so to speak. Is that maybe one thing one can already learn from these two stories, that is a powerful thing to do, to listen first into what's really the issues witin the organization, to then transform into that direction, into the direction of these challenges that you have identified before?
Well, as a coach, I would be a horrible coach if I wouldn't promote listening. Of course.
I'm the one coach that only talks. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm here talking.
Okay.
It's a must. But before that, I would start with commitment especially from top management. That's something I always say beforehand, because if you don't have commitment in the company from the top management for a transformation, Well, I would say it will not be possible, but you need a lot more effort, especially in communication with the top management. So I think it's also whoever is responsible for the transformation needs to listen to the top management as well. Katrin this morning or this afternoon said it perfectly. You need to let the top management feel the change, to let them be part of the change. I'm a big promoter of the saying, transformed people transform people, or changed people change people. You will have a lot more effect in the transformation if the people doing the transformation or promoting the transformation have an internal transformation as well. Mm-hmm. That's also, it's important who is responsible for the transformation in a company. Not just anyone, but it should be, like this is, well, it's an advice or it's my experience, it should be people who have had a personal transformation themselves. It's not only that they are trustworthy, but they know how it feels if you have to change yourself, if you have to change the way you see things, if you learn that your perspective of the world is not the perspective that others, how others see the world. Mm-hmm. So that's an important thing.
Okay, and I think, of course, I guess coaching is one way of how you can approach that, right? Yeah. How you can take people on this journey, and ideally they also want to be taken on that journey, I guess. And then you develop the field that you're interested in, just like you did it, right? You let people really work on their own topics. How can coaching help in these circumstances? I mean, this is one topic we should really discuss today, of course. But maybe also, what are structural changes or structural necessities that also go along with that? Because I think it can also be a lot to put all of the transformation challenges on the shoulders of individuals, how transformed they may be. There may also be some organizational embedment, right, that needs to be created. So how do you work, or how do you use coaching to help the individuals, but then also what can be organizational, let's say, structural changes that can also support that transformation?
I'll start with the organizational structures. We had this morning, this question. I'm not a big fan of looking at structures first, because there must be people who change the structures. And first of all, they have to be, well, in my perspective, they need to be coached as well, because otherwise they change the structures in a probably not productive or effective way. So coaching should be always first. And I would promote a special coaching journey. Of course, if I could, and if companies have the budget for it, I would coach like everyone who wants to, because I think coaching is the most important tool for the transformation of our business world, even politics, but don't go into that. I would start always with the top management, but I would also, besides all the leadership levels, I would get Jonathan put it perfectly this morning or this afternoon. I would get the influencers on board, because they are much more listened to than some of the leaders in the formal leadership positions. So it's important for me in the company to evaluate or to find out who are the real influencers, the pioneers, the visionaries, or like Steve Jobs said, the dreamers who do. Those who want to do the transformation, who are not afraid, and get them coaching first, so that they learn how to communicate to people. They learn how to communicate in a way that people follow them. I think that's really important, besides the leadership coaching. Okay.
Before I open for the audience, if there are questions, and I'm sure there are many, or things to share, other opinions and ideas. Maybe we can jump back into your world again. So, giving you the same question. So I know you applied coaching very intensely, yeah. And maybe you can continue telling us a little more about how that evolved. Yeah, how did that foster the transformation? But also maybe what other things did you do to accompany that change that was driven mainly by let's say individuals that were on a journey, but maybe also by other things.
Of course, we also enforce like the leadership team to work on the structure and also to align on rules. Like what is decision making? So so at some point I do have to have a transformation, but also guidance. Yeah. So we need both sides, the structure and the individual. And what we experience is that people call us, like people leader, and tell us, I see it. I feel it. I feel the transformation of my employee, yeah? And this is like the best compliment you can get. So there's no surveys we send out. So, like people come and it's also like if you want to change something, people have to see their impact, that they matter. So, and if they realize that they are the only ones who can foster the change. With coaching, with like the right questions, they will be encouraged and empowered to stand up and to ask for it. Yeah.
Can coaching also be dangerous for transformation? Just in case somebody is doing coachings and realizes, I feel empowered now to say, this is all crazy bullshit, I don't want to do that. Has that ever happened? To any of you?
It was super funny in the
Sorry,
last...
just a quick, stupid, spontaneous question.
That's a good question. We had one, I remember one quote from one of the networking events with CoachHub last, like beginning of the year in Munich. It was super funny because one lady said, it's so much less expensive than an exit strategy for one person if the person realizes in coaching is not the right setting for me, and you can be very happy as an organization that it could be found out. So that's, yeah.
Okay.
And what I also really like is that some of our individuals, they realize it's not the duty of the company to make me happy. So, and I really like it. I had this people leader in tech, a woman who called me and was like, I'm happy, I'm enjoying my work again. And it was not the company, it was me. And I think that's such a relief because, of course, you're hired for a role, yeah? And there's a structure. And if you realize, like, the company is not accountable for your happiness.
As a human being, so to speak.
As a human, you stop victimizing yourself. And you're getting into the driver's seat, mobile.de. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I could add one thing, because also the other way around. So there are people in the organization who might be, let's call them introverted, or maybe they are more quiet. And coaching gives them the self-confidence to speak up, because not because you're quiet, you don't have any ideas. And there's loud people whose ideas are probably not the best. So coaching can help those people to let their ideas be heard.
Because they gain the
confidence.
Confidence, okay. Yeah. How was your experience? So maybe again, the balance between organizational topics, but also coaching, how do they play along? You probably can't put anything on the shoulders of the individuals, but also the organization itself can't always solve anything by itself. So how does this interplay work in your case?
So first of all, as the people team, we truly believe in people over processes, but our organization, like Home24, tends to put the focus on the processes. And with Butlers, we were confronted with an organization who has a lot of passion and who really cares about the products and the people. And I think this is something where we can learn a lot and where we should combine. And the interesting part was that those two mindsets, especially on the highest level on the board, was clashing against each other. And we were realizing that those conflicts really above is a problem for the organization because it sometimes freezes your way of interaction. And what we did is at the point in time of this year where it was most painful, and it seems for the board we cannot get a next step further, we introduced also to the board coaching. individually with CoachHub, and they were first, yeah, but is this and that person in my team doing it as well? And I think this and that person should do it as well too. And finally, all three of them are currently using it and on board level, and they also motivated others to use it. And what we realized in the several weeks ago in the next management offsite, we were so much closer together. It was like a circle of chairs. Our CEO was really listening. We were having a dialogue, asking questions to each other, and it was also a very intense discussion. And I think it was also because people in those decision positions took the time for themselves to think about what am I passionate about, what is the vision I want to follow, what is my part in the conflict, and all this kind of things. And if you have this safe space with coaching, I think it's a good tool for the whole organization to then be able to interact and experiment and getting in contact.
Sure, and then
that's what we got a lot as a feedback. Just taking that time for myself, it's like a cocoon, because change often can be very ugly, like a caterpillar. But in that safe cocoon, and you're like spending time to yourself, reflecting, and then you're able to transform. If you have opportunity for giving or letting go yourself, yeah. So that's what we often have as an image, is that it's like a CoachHub is like a cocoon. So in a safe space, and I have the time to transform, because I cannot do business as usual and transform at once. It's not possible. Yeah.
I once learned that, random fact, that when caterpillars get into this cocoon, it's really, I don't know, I never checked it, but apparently they really dissolve into some sort of matter, like a liquid almost, and then out of this liquid forms the butterfly, which I always found super crazy. I hope that's not what happened to your people, but I'm sure they're beautiful butterflies now.
Yeah, but this transforming is having a new perspective.
Yeah, and don't stop the process in the middle, because then you end up being liquefied, and that's okay.
Lars, can I add something?
Sure,
because
but then we have to talk to these people, because they're also very interesting and beautiful, and they also have things to say.
They want to get a butterfly.
Yes, maybe, I don't know.
Just one thing to the caterpillar, to the butterfly, because when it's all their soup, there are these trailblazer cells in the cocoon, which are called imago cells, and the imago cells are the one transforming the whole to the butterfly.
Even more random expertise on how to become a butterfly.
Find the imago cells.
What the hell? Okay, I mean, this place has transformed people, right, in other ways, so maybe this is the place where... Okay, never mind. Bad jokes aside, who wants to say something? Yes, please, I can see your name tag, but maybe you can say your name and maybe where you're from and what you would like to say.
Hi, I'm Melina. I'm from Hamburg, and I work for Tesa Tape. What I was just thinking is maybe you could share something about how you were involving the managers also in the transformation and coaching process, because being a little bit provocative here, it could have the tendency sometimes to shove all the people into the coaching and they come back as butterflies, you know what I mean? And how do you,
we needed horses, not butterflies. No, I'm just kidding.
But I hope you understood my point, how do you also keep the managers on board and in responsibility?
Who would you like to answer first, or whoever wants to start?
I can make it very short. So basically what we decided together is that we are sharing the experiences. So managers who took the path or employees out of the organization took coaching, sharing their experiences. And this is the most powerful thing, taking it further and motivating others and sharing their story. That's basically it. And other than that, whenever something is super painful, you're searching for a solution, and we always give them then a little bit of a trial. So hey, we have licenses, you can try it out. When you see you don't find time for it, or you not okay with the coach, you can then leave it, but just try it out. and most of the people taking it very serious and say, oh my God, okay, this is unlimited for now. Okay, I should really try it. And then they're getting into it and sharing their stories. That's basically it.
And for our managers, it's a great relief. It's like, talk to my hand. No, talk to your coach. Like, like these boundaries, and somebody's just having a divorce or stuff like that, and is overwhelmed, and you're like, you know what, please, not here. Talk to your coach. And we experience a lot of people managers who really see it as a relief that they can say, this, you should talk to your coach. So, and it's like less mental load for managers, yeah, to set that boundary. And it's not like a harsh boundary because, like there is the structure. It's not, we don't want to have it in the system, yeah.
Yeah. And there's one small thing we were discussing also in the team. An organization who is in crisis needs resilience, and resilient means each and every person needs to recheck in with him or herself. And that's basically that we are sharing also some insights around the psychology around it, and CoachHub helps because they are also offering the behavioral science behind all that. And this also is super interesting for managers, getting the new impulse and then trying it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Any more ideas, questions, comments, provocative things to say? No? Yes? Okay.
Hi, it's Sylvia again. I always have lots of questions. So I'm curious, in your perspectives, and this is for any one of you, in your experience in either bringing coaching into your organization or doing coaching, or actually being brought in as a coach, how are you seeing, or how are you dealing with people who don't want to be coached?
Not everyone first, so.
Maybe then I start.
Okay.
How I work is coaching is cool. So what we try to do is to go away from coaching is something where people are a problem, and that's why you need coaching. We make it very cool. And it's especially cool if the top management does it and talks about it and talks about the personal feelings and involvement in the coaching process. But that's the North Star. It's not always the case. But if people don't want coaching, don't force them. They will probably hear it or listen to other colleagues talking about it, and some come around, some not.
It's their decision. So in our case, they may spend their budget on a conference or beer, I don't know. And sometimes, also like last time we were talking, sometimes you just need a good friend, you don't need a coach, okay? So it's totally fine. You don't always need a coach, yeah? And that's what we also experience. Like we have like some attendees or coaches who stop after 15 sessions and are like, I don't have anything to talk about anymore. I want to stop and I want to donate my months. And they donate. They donate their 2 or 3 months they don't use, and somebody else can. That's really nice with CoachHub, this flat rate thing. So we don't lose anything. So it's really nice, and it's very generous. If somebody's like, I'm now like relaxed. I want to donate my months. Yeah. So why force people? I mean, I wouldn't kiss anybody, like be forced. These are the relationships. Like you don't force people to get into a relationship with a coach. Yeah.
And it can only be an offer. And
it's kind of an offer, yeah. So.
And you, of course, you force everyone to. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay, I hope that was a good enough answer for you. Yeah. Any other questions? Because I have more questions, but I don't want to take away your time. No. Okay, interesting. Good. They all need a coach, I think. They are too shy. It's not okay. No, I'm just kidding. What I would like to know is, because you just mentioned after 15 sessions, people just said, I'm done, I'm wonderful, I'm a butterfly now. So maybe on average, how does a typical journey work? How does it work in your organization? How maybe, Silvia, how do you see it? What is a typical journey? How long does it take? And when is a good point to get out of the coaching? Because I think it feels, it sounds so great when people. What do you do if people don't want to stop anymore? When do you tell them it's enough?
If they don't want to stop anymore, they can, of course, invest their budget. And so in our case, every fourth participant joins again. Every fourth. Yeah.
Joins again a cycle of...
In the cycle, like next year. Yeah.
Of how many sessions?
Oh, no, like, it's not sessions. So we have a program, and it's like 6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Okay.
And we have an average attendance of 2.3 sessions per person. That's super high. I think we're one of the... I think you hate us, because... Well, 2.4 you just told me, Philip. It's like our Mobility A participants, in average, have 2.4 sessions up per month. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this is ROI, and we have like these nice dashboards. I sent the dashboards to the leadership team. And I can just show that curve, And we also have like the transparency on how they rate the coaches. I think this is amazing, So we see that our coaches are rated 4.9 out of 5. And I see comments. I can see how many sessions people are attending. I can even like call somebody and say, you only had 1 session in the last 2 months. Don't you like your coach? So I can jump in, And I want to be provocative, so now. So in other cases, we're way relaxeder to spend budget. Like, just hire this agile coach. I know the market price is now 100,000 a year. Before I would hire like an agile coach for 100,000 a year, I would buy 40 licenses at CoachHub. It's more evident. It's more evidence. Okay, now all agile coaches hate me. Just like maybe to get another perspective, how people decide on budget.
Okay, and maybe another question that's inspired by your answer. So of course, when you're someone who's very interested in organizations, which I am and you all are, of course, all that knowledge that is being exchanged in these coaching sessions, which are of course that knowledge is confidential in a sense. But is there a way, or can you maybe describe a way you try to use to kind of still get maybe some of the many ideas that must come up in these coaching sessions for the organization, to make those productive? So do you have can people also donate ideas from their coaching sessions, or can they voluntarily share something that they come up with, or is it really a completely sealed off experience, and it's what stays within the session, what happens within the session stays there, and that's also fine? I mean, it must be a bit of a treasure box full of great stuff. So
maybe we do have a monthly check-in where everybody, like, it's voluntary, can check in and share his or her experience. It's really nice. Like, some people just found out they have the same coach. And we also, at the end of the program, we have a retrospective, and of course it's also about the technology, so there are parts that need some improvement. So we really talk a lot about like the technology, like the coaching, and also
coaching itself.
And the coaching itself, what helped,
But what I thought is, maybe is there some way to derive, let's say, organizational knowledge from that? So like there must be like a collective treasure box about topics that come up again and again and again, but the organization doesn't really directly hear that, of course. Is there a way how you try to maybe offer a way to share topics that maybe should be heard not only in the session, but even on a bigger scale, maybe anonymously, excuse me.
You can maybe answer.
I would say if you are thinking about those, like building up those treasure box, it is related to all the personal stories, and before you share this anonymously, I think you need to find people and bring them together to share those stories and having a dialogue. Otherwise, as we learned this morning, just with like directive learning, nothing happens. You need this dialogue and this experience, and so sharing those personal stories and finding a forum for that. I think
building an arena for that.
Yes, that this could be the next step definitely.
Okay.
But honestly, like when we have these check-ins, nobody was like reflecting on the organization. They all were reflecting on their behavior.
Okay.
So that's why I don't see the dots
Okay.
yet.
Could have been. I mean, I was just curious. I'm fantasizing here, so don't.
Sometimes you use retrospectives, right? Of course, to reflect on certain processes. And we were also reflecting on the transformation so far in the past months. And if people learn in coaching how to reflect and how to answer on questions, asking questions, and getting in touch with like the meta level, so to say, then they are also able to reflect what's happening in the organization. And I think that's the next step. And it's not that simple, because this is what really good coaches do, and how they do facilitation, and that needs to be built up in the organization. Yeah.
So the organizational knowledge that builds up can be felt through the individual actions that may have changed. Yes. Okay, excellent.
And somebody facilitating the meta level, because it's not so easy sometimes to express and to observe.
Do you have something to share on that?
I just see the finish, please.
Me too.
Sign.
I decide.
I can add one thing. What I sometimes do, depending on the openness of the individuals and the company, is what I call deep dialogue sessions. It's like a small group of people, 7 people, and then they share whatever came up in the coaching
like a focus
process.
Group.
On a meta level, but also even like Fachthemen, subjects for the business.
Yeah. Okay. So now is the time where we have to start this very sad thing, where we say goodbye to each other. At least I have to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for being a great audience and asking at least a few questions. But even more, thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and ideas and all your wisdom. Vlore, Lisa, and Silvia. A big round of applause.